Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It's Tuesday, August 12th, 10 a.m. And for those of you in the Washington, D.C. area, I'm sure you're hearing the crunch of hobnailed boots as the stormtroopers of Donald Trump start to occupy the Utopia that is the Washington, D.C. area to set up checkpoints and bring in illegals and not stop crime and things of that nature, which we all know is a total lie. And it's about time somebody did something down there. And let's talk about why the place has the issues that it has. Not so much that it is a laboratory for socialist democrat movements for the last 5 decades, but what you're seeing on the informationatron is far from what is actually occurring. And it has happened this way because of a manipulation of numbers, which was easy to do. All right. Very easy to do this. And they're also going to tell you once again that it's because some white people got attacked that it even came up. But Trump complained about this sections of the city being a shithole in his last term. And now in this term, it's time to do something. Okay. So what we can discuss here are the facts that the city of Washington, D.C. has been in trouble for many, many years. What the Democrats running the community have done is use two particular wards, wards 2 and wards 3, to skew the numbers of what was occurring in the city. Wards 2 and 3 are where all the people that work for the federal government or whoever else live outside of Georgetown. Georgetown's a separate deal. Okay. So when you look at these numbers, you're going to see some very high $90,000 for the salaries. Everybody's literate. Crime is not so bad, things of that nature. And that's not actually true for the entirety of the city. Also, the newfangled police that they had, which were in touch with your feelings, usually spent their time in wards 2 and 3 because that's where the people who were worried about their feelings and not so worried about murder and rape and rampant drug sales and shit like that were living. So that's why you were saying to yourself, why are these people voting to do this or why are these people doing that when it's just suicide? Well, it was suicide for the rest of the community. Unfortunately, I was not able to get what I wanted, which was the percentages of black on black homicide, white on white homicide, black on white, white on black, because they're going to be fairly low due to this wards 2 and 3 situation, whereas black on black homicide and crime should be through the roof. All right. And if you go to our regular page, southfloridaconservative.com, we will include all the statistics and the charts that go along with this so you can see what a nightmare these poor people have been living in due to their Democrat overlords. All right, now they are going to tell you that 2023 to 2024, things have gone down. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the Biden administration prosecutors are not in a position to turn down 70 some percent of all the crimes just because they don't feel like they need to prosecute them. Okay. That is one of the issues that's out there. So DC's year-end 2024 crime homicide is down 32% to 187 homicides versus 2023. The robberies are down 39% to 2,113 robberies. So total violent crime is down 35%. So there's 3,469 incidences of violent crime. And they're like, woo, thank God, right? But in 2023, which they call a generational spike, which is due to the prosecutors, they were running around, like I said, 274 homicides, which is the highest in 20 years. That was a pretty high murder rate for them. Their highest murder rates were in the late 90s in the crack cocaine era. Okay. So we're expecting a further drop in crime under the Trump administration, which is a nice thing to think. But as we know, he's not going to stop there. He is going to give the people of these additional wards the break they deserve. So let's talk first about Ward 2 and 3, which are the outlier, the ones that drag these numbers out of the area. Okay. There is roughly 78 to 82,000 residents in each. They are high income, they have strong schools, relatively little violent crime compared to the rest of the city. Ward 2 is around 5.5 square miles. It's got 78,000 plus people. Ward 3 is 10.5 square miles, and there's about 78,000 people there. Okay, so that's 157,000 people, which is only 22 to 23% of DC's population. And they are living in the two safest, best resourced areas in the city. Okay, now that shouldn't shock anybody because that's how socialism works, right? There are the elites and there are the non-elites. The non-elites are the people that are on welfare, food stamps, public housing. They occupy the rest of the city. When you hear them talk about it, they say, well, there are pockets in different areas. The pockets are 75% of the city. Okay. So, you're talking, well, where isn't there a big issue? Well, crime has gone down in, like I said, Georgetown, Foggy Bottom, Cathedral Heights, places like that, places that didn't have a lot of it in the first place. Okay. So they've used those numbers of the people living there to make it sound like Washington, D.C. in general is a utopian place and does not need to have the executive branch come in there and look around. But let's look at what they had going on, which is a prosecution bottleneck in 2022. The district attorney's office declined to prosecute 67% of arrests that were destined for the DC Superior Court. That's almost double the 2015 rate. Okay, that is Congressional and Washington Post reporting. The schools were garbage. Does any of you remember the movie Waiting for Superman? That was a DC era school that a good part of that film was made in. They barely are literate in most of Washington, D.C. Reading at an eighth grade limit, which is what I put in as a parameter, who could read at an eighth grade level? No, no, right? So you are graduating people through your schools that cannot even read at an eighth grade level. Forget about math. Forget about science. Forget about anything. And you wonder why there is a crime issue in this community. There are no jobs for people that are unable to read at the eighth grade or do anything else. Maybe you get to work at, I don't know, whatever food chain is in the area, but there are no viable jobs there for them. They are kept just as they do in other major cities. They are being kept in this welfare, let's use the term concentration camp, because they cannot move under the public housing system to another area because then they'd have to go back on the list and try to get housing again. And it doesn't work the way you think it works. So people are sort of stuck where they are to be used from nose to tail by the federal government until they can't use you anymore, in which case you go to a potter's field. Okay. So yeah, it's time somebody gets in there and does something about this. The community of Washington, D.C., because it's not ever going to be a state, thank God, needs to be a shining example for the community. If I'm bringing people in from another country to negotiate a treatment, I don't want them to have to drive at 65 miles an hour through half of the city because I'm afraid they're going to get carjacked. I want you to be able to say, you can walk anywhere in the city of Washington, D.C. with your wallet on your head and nobody's going to rob or murder you. That's what you do when you're trying to sell yourself as the greatest country in the world. All right. Indonesia can do that, but we can't. All right. So that's what we have here. If somebody's going to tell you it's illegal, immoral, blah, 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 it is not. It's been a failure of socialist politics there for years. It was done to keep these people in that horrible state of drug and alcohol addiction, welfare degeneracy, all these things. Nobody was there doing anything nice. Nobody's trying to give you a leg up to get out. They are just there to benefit from your misfortune. DC is the laboratory in which all these horrible shit programs that have floated around the country started, because you could watch it every day while you were doing business. So if the president wants to go in there and clean the place up, be my guest. I think you will find that any number of average, whatever race they are, that lives in these outside of wards 2 and 3, and you say, hey, no more of being the fourth highest homicide rate among big cities in 2024. No more of that, right? No more sex assault, no more rape, no more robberies at such a level, right? It boggles the mind that people would fight against trying to save communities. But that's what the Democrat Party is all about. So that's all I have for you on this one. All the stats will be on the page because it's easier for you to just look at the graphs and this and that and the other thing. That'll all be on there 2 o'clock, something like that. SouthFloridaConservative.com. And that is it for now. Have a good day.